Prince William and Prince Harry will put their differences aside when they unveil a statue in their mother's memory later today on what would have been her 60th birthday.
The two brothers, who are rumoured to have already texted each other about England's Euro victory this week, are expected to meet in private following the unveiling at Kensington Palace Gardens. So I guess it's increased hope that today might be the day to help repair their fractured relationship. Gargi Patel has more.
From Italy by Paul Burrell, who was Princess Diana's butler, and from North West London we can speak to royal biographer Angela Levin. Let's come to you first, Paul. I mean, I'd like to think that we are all hoping that at some point these brothers will come back together and will have their close relationship once again. Do you think that, in the end, it's their mother that can bring them together? Do you think that we are at that moment right now?
Well, let's hope so. And thank goodness, 24 years after her death, we do have a tangible touchstone to her memory founded by the boys. And if this poignant day doesn't do it, then nothing will. Because if they stand there in front of their mother's image and just think and consider what she would have wanted and what she would have said to her boys, then they will know the answer to that question. I think personally they will go back into Kensington Palace after the ceremony, which will be very small, very quick. They will go back to Kensington Palace and then they will meet up with Kate indoors. And I think Kate holds the key to this. I think she is the peacekeeper. She's the person that is going to pull these boys back together. There's a lot of work to do, because a lot of things have been said.
Why do you say Kate particularly?
Because I think she's the answer, because she's standing between both boys, seeing this unfold, and she knows that they're both hurting. She knows they both want this to work, because as in your piece you just said, the boys spent their grieving years together, they became closer and closer, and then suddenly there was this massive rift that grew between them. So Kate has witnessed this at first hand. She knows that William wants this to work out. Those boys should be stood together. Their mother would want them to stand together. Her idea was that Harry would support William when he came to the throne. It was his job to look after his brother, and they would be there together, helping each other. Don't forget, Diana was a great monarchist. She supported the Queen and Prince Philip, and she loved the institution into which the boys were born. She was very proud of her boys being members of the royal family, and she would want them to continue that way. I believe there will be a role for Harry in the future when William becomes king.
It's interesting, isn't it, Andrew? Because what Paul was saying there, that they will look at their mother in statue form and think what she would have wanted. I wonder if part of the problem is they both think they know what their mum would have wanted, and they both view it differently. I think Prince Harry thinks he's doing what his mum wanted in making a choice to move away, as he sees it, to protect his wife and his family and his mental health. And William, we understand, sees it very differently, that move. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can find that common ground.
Yes, in theory, I think everybody would like that to happen, but in practice, I don't think it's going to happen at all. My view is that Prince Harry has decided over some time away, and perhaps even before, that he's had absolutely enough of being the spare, the second one, the one who always has to pick up the pieces, as it were. And I think he's established himself as the voice and the feeling of his mother, and that he's the one who knows about it. He says, there's a lot of my mother in me. And I think his speech when he came out the isolation, where it was almost sort of taking William's role there, because he's speaking first, and he was saying that, you know, my mother, like I do, I believe that it's the young people that can change the world. This is what I'm trying to do. The speech was written in his home in America, because you could see the squidgy bird nest painting on the wall. And I think it was all written with Meghan's help. A lot of the words sounded as if it was her speaking. Even before she was married, she was talking about young people changing the world. And I think he wants to get people to think that he's the important one. He's made a move so that people can hear him and that he can put forward what his mother really wants to do. Whereas William is pragmatic. He loves his mother just the same, but he's trying to incorporate into his life. He said, I want this to make me, not break me. Harry wants to crush the royal family. He's been very, very unkind, saying that both Prince William and Prince Charles are stuck, and is demeaning the whole issue of the royal family. He wants to take on Diana's role and be like her in the future.
Angela, I mean, look, some will say, actually not some will say, I'll say that I've heard the same podcast that you've heard. I've read and listened to the same interviews. I don't see him being unkind. It's just a young boy, a young man growing up and being honest about his own mental health, his own situation and the way he wants to live his life. I don't think he's crushing the royal family. That seems to be quite harsh, I think.
No, I agree with Angela.
I'm sorry to be harsh, because when I spent over a year with Prince Harry, I thought he was wonderful. I think he's completely changed. I think he sees that he has her legacy. And I don't think it's very nice to describe that your brother and your father, well, your father was a lousy parent and your brother is stuck.
Where did he didn't say lousy parent. Where's that? Where have you quoting lousy parent from? I've not seen that anywhere. Where did he say his father was a lousy parent?
His father had let him down.
He didn't say lousy parent, and this is part of the problem, is that he says one thing, but it's reported. You've got invited on this show, and you've got a responsibility to, if you're going to say you spent a year with him, but the report is accurate. Nowhere did he say his dad was a lousy parent. He was explaining it in the context of the royal family and how he wanted to leave and break that cycle. I think that's fair enough. But to say he was a lousy parent, that's your words, not his.
Father let you down is a horrible thing to say.
No, it's
Prince Charles is a very sensitive man, and he knows that. And to describe William as stuck and trapped, I think is also very unkind, because William is giving his all for his future role as king. Okay. So lousy is the wrong word, but the actual impression is what I stand by.
OK, well, look, unfortunately, we are going to have to leave it there because we've got a minister waiting and he's only got a limited amount of time. We do need to get to him. But Paul Burrell and Angela Levin, thank you very much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing the statue of Princess Diana later today, of course.